Gentleman yields. Chair recognizes Ms. Cherfilus-McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary Rubio, for being here. My question is about Jordan. Jordan's a close U.S. partner and continues to struggle with economic challenges and lingering extremist threats. Furthermore, the global assistance freeze continues to have a negative impact on Jordan, despite the administration's granting several waivers for military assistance, as millions of dollars for economic assistance remain suspended. This is not only impacts Jordan, but also the security of Israel. A weakened Jordan means a weakened Israel. Jordan has also been a leader in getting humanitarian aid to Gaza. What is the status of U.S. economic assistance to Jordan, including the already congressionally appropriated funds?
When it comes to Jordan, the remaining issues in the economic space for them, because they were initially exempted from even the freeze, and there was, however, a holdup on a number of programs involving water, particularly desal. We have approved those. There were 2 that were somehow not moving through the system. Those have now been approved. And I think very shortly, if not this week, early part of next week, we should see that program flowing. We've been in close touch with the Jordanians on it. It's been a source of frustration for them and frankly for me. But ultimately, we're going to get all those programs online if they're not online already.
Thank you. I want to shift over to the Western Hemisphere. As Senator, we worked together several times, and I thank you for visiting the island of Hispaniola, specifically Haiti and Dominican Republic, within the first moments of being in your position. The recent designation of Haitian gangs as foreign terrorist organization, it sends a clear signal that what their actions are unacceptable and we won't be approving of them. But I have some concerns, and we sent a letter over with Ranking Member Meeks about making sure that it's actually punishing the gangs and not punishing the people. Specifically, we want to make sure that the humanitarian aid that's needed for Haiti actually gets into Haiti. Have you had any kind of steps you're taking to mitigate that?
Yes. So we think that designating them was important because, as both you and I know, there are individuals, including living in our home state, who are in cahoots with some of these gangs. And we can talk broader about the Haiti problem because it's something I feel very passionately about, but on the point you're trying to touch on, and let's be frank here, we are concerned that humanitarian groups, in order to distribute humanitarian aid, are often charged, for lack of a better term, tolls. You got to pay them money to let them go. Will that make them subject to sanctions because they paid somebody money to let them go through? That is not the intent of these sanctions, and we don't intend to punish them. The fundamental challenge we have in Haiti is that none of our existing international mechanisms are built for this problem set. Our international mechanisms are largely built to keep warring factions, ideological factions, tribal factions, political movements from each other. This is a country that's being threatened by 35 to 40,000 members of a coalition of criminal enterprises. It's basically controlled by organized crime. It's a very different mission set. So we're undertaking right now a substantial review across the interagency of what options exist to tackle a country that's being taken over by a mafia, for lack of a better term. They don't care about governing the country, they just want to control territory. So if there's no government, there's no one to, it's like allowing the mafia to take over the 5 boroughs of New York. That's what they're thinking. So I also want to make one more point. Why do we have an OAS if the OAS can't put together a mission to handle the most critical region in our hemisphere? And we're going to challenge the OAS to let's build a mission with regional partners to confront this. We're grateful to the Kenyans, but this is a regional problem and it should have a regional solution.
Well, that takes me to my next question also when it comes to Haiti. There's an underlying June deadline when it comes to the MSS. Could you please tell us any way you're trying to handle that?
Yeah, we're going to continue to be supportive of that mission for 2 reasons. Number one, because it's the only mission. And number 2, because of the Kenyans, and they've been very brave in their willingness to do it. And number 3, because who's going to join a future mission if the previous mission was abandoned? But we don't believe the MSS mission is going to solve this problem. It could be part of the answer, but it won't alone be the answer.
I have a lot of questions, so I'm going to run through it. The next one I want to ask you is also the biggest issue we saw with the mission is their inability to actually fight the actual gangs. Is there going to be any amendment or changes to give them the ability to fight, or is there another option you're pursuing?
Well, I think there's 2 limitations. One is the mandate that's been provided to them to be defensive in posture. Unless you go out after these gangs, I mean, just to be frank, these 30, 40,000 gang members have to be eliminated, put in jail, eliminated. You got to get rid of them. As long as they're around, you won't be able to have stability in the country. The other is capacity. They've had complaints about some of the equipment they've been provided. So it's a combination of not having a force posture, not having the legal authority, and not having the appropriate equipment, they claim, to be able to conduct some of these missions.
And my last, since I have 1 minute, I wanted to turn towards Africa. I'm happy you talked about energy security. Specifically, when it comes to energy security, we have to make a forward movement when it comes to Africa because they have so many minerals. But I'm afraid some of these, our diplomatic footprint has been reduced. And I'm happy to hear that the U.S. State Department is going to have a 6-point plan to bolster trade, but I still have concerns. So I wanted to ask you a few questions to see if you'd be able or willing to support this. Increasing funding to support commercial diplomacy, would you support that?
We want to increase commercial diplomacy. I don't know if we need more funding to do it, but we can certainly, we certainly want to make it a higher priority.
And also increasing funding for financial institutions to support projects and de-risk those economies. There are many different companies who would like to invest and help us build that footprint by having more economic relationships with Africa so we can have more of a partnership in trade. Would you support increasing funds to those financial institutions?
Well, I actually think those would lend themselves to both the Development Finance Corporation and potentially Millennium Challenge Grant opportunities outside of the traditional aid. I think Africa's looking for development. They're not looking for charity. And by the way, we have not reduced any diplomatic footprint other than in the DRC. We had to remove some people because of riots outside of our embassy.
Well, so my understanding is that you guys.
Gentle lady's time has expired.
Thank you so much for your time. I yield
Chair
back.
now